Originally, this video was supposed to be Don Lorenzo versus Rin, as I think both of their friends are in desperate need of a reality check, but I think some of the community needs to stop sleeping on Aiku, too. And I'd much rather talk about Aiku than that bum Rin. As the title suggests, I think Don Lorenzo is one of the most wildly overrated and overhyped characters in Blue Lock, and I'll explain why using the categories people generally attribute to being his best, those being his defense, dribbling, and field IQ. Passing isn't really included as much because in Blue Lock, other than like some specific passes, they aren't generally considered more impressive than one another. So the first thing I'd like to go over is a big staple for the Don Lorenzo Glazers, his dribbling. Basically, he's not that great of a dribbler. He just started out unpredictable due to his zombie dribbling. If you look at any of his actual dribbling feats, they're negligible, and whenever he's faced with serious opposition, he passes. We see this primarily with Raichi, who he passes after confronting 3 times within 2 chapters. Not to take away from Raichi's defense capabilities, he's a monster in this match. Just Lorenzo very clearly isn't confident in his capabilities of maintaining the ball and views it as less than the best course of action, and would rather pass someone like Nico, who just isn't that great compared to the best players either, worse than Lorenzo. We see again later in the final play that he's blatantly not confident he can maintain the ball when faced with Isagi, and proceeds to pass. He's also dog shit at actually stopping people when they're dribbling. Hiyori and Isagi both absolutely humiliate this guy multiple times during the match, which isn't to say Hiyori and Isagi aren't great dribblers, they just absolutely aren't the best in the series, especially at this point. This goes into his defense as well, which is just subpar for a supposed 99 stat. He just can't stop decent dribblers, as I mentioned before, and on top of that, he doesn't ever really shut down passes. He tries to get between Isagi and Yukimiya, but he just fails since he isn't able to secure the ball and Kaiser gets it. On Baro's second goal, Lorenzo also clearly fails to continue marking Kaiser, even though he is just a couple pages before. So Kaiser just individually breaks past Lorenzo's defense, which he does easily earlier in the match when paired with Ness. Lorenzo also just doesn't catch up with Kaiser the rest of that play. Lorenzo only blocks 1 Kaiser impact, and it was when Kaiser just tried to pretty much cut through the entirety of Ubers by himself with a little bit of help from Ness. It wasn't that great of a strategy to begin with, it was clearly just a desperate attempt at a goal. Lorenzo only stops Kaiser from shooting at the beginning of the match because Kaiser hasn't made contact with the ball yet. It's just inconsistent to say he's capable of consistently shutting down Kaiser. Lorenzo does succeed in reaching the ball before Isagi and Kaiser at one point, but he then fails to take into account the remaining factors on the field, which leads into Hiyori blocking his pass, which also leads into the next point on his field IQ, which is something that also dictates his defensive capabilities, and he quite frankly isn't that great with. When I say that, your mind probably immediately goes back to his Yo Michael scene, thinking he's actually fantastic at reading the field and even better than the main crew at this point. But that's just not correct really at all. Before we even get into why it isn't some top tier feat, first there's one big red flag for the feat that needs to be laid out and established first. Don Lorenzo and Kaiser have already faced each other prior to this feat. The play itself doesn't even have any implications of being some top level play either. The only statements made are its extremely unpredictable nature. That paired with the fact that he's likely already seen Kaiser's plays before and strategy, considering he's faced him before. You know what directly also correlates with his unpredictable nature? The fact that Don Lorenzo's entire individual playstyle is unpredictability. And no, this is not just grasping at straws. On the very next chapter, a blatantly stated highlight of Don Lorenzo's is his ideas. This is not conventional field IQ. This is his own unpredictability and ability to comprehend others' unpredictable actions. We blatantly see his reaction to actual planned interceptions, and he's always surprised and caught off guard by it. This is not the field intelligence of someone who can supposedly match and shut down Kaiser on that level. He has a similar reaction to Kaiser's off-the-ball movement leading up to the Bainshu play. On top of all this, unlike players who are actually considered the best at reading the field, Don Lorenzo is not a confirmed Metavision user, in the slightest. Other than that, he's still just a pretty decent player, but nothing too impressive. His offense is lacking, obviously, his striking feats are nil, he's got pretty solid off-the-ball movement and speed, but then his supposed strongest categories aren't even that much better than that, as I explained previously. He's still a great player, don't get me wrong, but to say he stands alongside the likes of Kaiser, Isagi, Sai, or other world-class players is just kind of unfounded based off the Ubers match. Even if you want to bring up narrative, the only narrative he has is being a New Gen 11 player, which doesn't mean shit about being equal to other New Gen 11 players, and doesn't mean he's automatically better than anyone who isn't one. He's the world's best U20 center back. Okay, so please show me other center backs to upscale him off of. I'm waiting. only impressive character you can name is pre-Metavision Aiku. So I don't see at all why this narratively makes him a top dog. And speaking about Aiku, he dominates this fraud. Defensively, Aiku is a monster. He consistently blocks Isagi not even being able to track him with Metavision most of the time. Aiku is also capable of blocking Kaiser physically, which is insane physically, and for defense simply for the fact that Kaiser is by far one of the physically strongest characters in the series, so Aiku is just going to be able to body block basically anyone. This is consistent with the fact he just annihilates Shido, and Aiku can jump meters in the air. He's physically a monster. Aiku also has by far some of the best field IQ we've seen. He's able to understand and utilize Metavision basically immediately after discovering it, and even prior to this, he's just blatantly portrayed to be insanely perceptive and having high-level analytical skills. He alone understands the flaws in Isagi's new ambidextrous style, and from the very start, he's been described similarly to how we understand Metavision to be now. Isagi even has similar statements for Aiku's spatial awareness as he does Kaiser's positioning upon seeing them for the first time, being he states they manifest his ideal playstyle. Another thing to consider is Aiku is perfectly fine on offense too. In a two-man push alongside Sai, he almost scores, and his offense was just blatantly stated to be great in that play. The only reason he didn't score was the fact that Rin was dedicating his entire playstyle to matching Sai's playmaking. If he didn't do that, Aiku was going to score in that play and secure the victory for the U20 team. So on top of being better defensively than Don Lorenzo, and having better field IQ and adaptability, he's also miles better offensively and has actual shooting feats unlike Don Lorenzo. So he's much better well-rounded than the homeless bum. Anyways, that's all today. I'll see you all next time and have a great rest of your day.